Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. I hope you're all doing fantastically well. 2023 is with us. Let's hope it's going to be a big year, not only for Manchester United, but for you personally. I hope it is a big year, and thanks everyone for tuning in. We've got lots to get involved in this show, this New Year's Day show. Don't normally do a show on New Year's Day, but we are, and here we go. And we've got quite a big update coming in from James Ducker of The Telegraph, in fact, talking about Ten Hag's 3 loan options in the January transfer window. January transfer window's open now. Some might say, why have United not bought anybody? They've had 2 months knowing that Ronaldo's not going to be here. You're making a good point. First super chat of the show comes from Ricky Cruz. He says, cheers to the new year. I appreciate all the streams you've done and the impact people around the world, myself included. Can you hit, I've played the game, you're the GOAT. There you go, I've played the game. Thank you very much, Ricky. First one of the year. I've played the game. But lots I want to get into tonight. I want to talk about this story from The Telegraph. James Ducker, 3 loan options for Ten Hag. What will he do? There's a couple of other options. He's got 5 options, really. We're also going to talk about Dubravka going back to Newcastle. What does that mean? We'll talk about the January transfer window in general, ins and outs. You know, may as well do that. Welcome to Members Club Shah. And I also want to talk about, this is a perfect Sunday night show. Now, the Sunday night show, this is the original show. Everybody copies the United Stand. Like, not just United content creators, every other club. The live format of an interactive community show started by the United Stand. I'm very proud of that. But this, you know, if you want the origins of the origins, the Sunday night show was this was the quintessential. This is the Godfather show. This is the show because this was the very first weekly show that we did, 8 o'clock every Sunday night in the early days, 7 years ago. This was the spark that totally took the YouTube football community world by storm. Nobody was doing live content. It was all pre-recorded, cut 10-minute videos, right? Now everybody does it. And this is the show, the Sunday night show. Happy New Year, Mark. I think you can get 4th as London's are rubbish apart from his. Results have gone for us very, very well, Zane. I also want to talk a little bit later about how good is Marcus Rashford and how good can he be. Fantastic. I nearly said fucking fantastic. He's absolutely fantastic at the moment. How good is he? Because some people still think he's not that good. Some people think he's world class. Let's talk about that a bit as well as we get into it. But I hope you're all doing very well. Let's fly straight into this first story. Anthony Johnson says, Happy New Year. Does the United recruitment department not have remember Morata in the Premier League? He was absolutely crap. We're going to talk about Morata, Anthony. Happy New Year to Zane as well. Legend of the chat, as we all know. Let's start off with James Ducker then. So James Ducker is a Manchester United correspondent. He writes for The Telegraph. This afternoon, he's come out and said that as much as Ten Hag would like to bring in João Felix on loan, the 20 million loan package is very prohibitive for Manchester United. Other loan options include Memphis Depay and Morata. So there is a choice to be made for Ten Hag here, and there, you know, I have to keep saying this. Why are we waiting? Do you ever used to play that in the playground when you were at school? Why are we? So maybe it was just me annoying, like, you know, if anyone used to get on my nerves while I was waiting to do something at playground, I'd go, why are we waiting? No wonder I was irritating then, wasn't I? But my point is, we've known for 2 months that Cristiano Ronaldo is leaving the club. And it's January the 1st today, and we've got no idea what we're going to do. Now, some people would say you're being very impatient, Goldbridge, like it's only January the 1st. I would say to those prats, you're a turbo prat. And I'd also say you're a turbo super prat, because we've known for 2 months that Ronaldo was gone. We've known for 6 months that Cavani was gone. Why would you not have somebody in on January the 1st? Especially when it's a bloody loan deal. Like, why are these deals not done? We're playing Bournemouth on Tuesday, we're playing Everton on Friday, we're playing Charlton the following Tuesday, and then we're playing Man City and Arsenal. We've got 5 season-defining games coming up. We've got to play the top 2. We're playing a Carabao Cup quarter-final, we're playing an FA Cup game, and we've got a game tomorrow against Bournemouth that we need to on Tuesday we need to win. This is a big important time, and we're not prepared. And you know what? As much as I'd like to say we are prepared, you know we're not prepared. You know they're sat there going, we don't know what to do. Eric, we don't know what to do. And I would imagine they're putting it onto him, saying, we couldn't get you Gakpo. We're struggling to get you João Felix. What do you want? And Ten Hag's probably going, well, I wanted Gakpo. You can't. I'd like João Felix. You can't. So what do you want? And what he does next is very interesting. Happy New Year, Mark, says Paul Woolley. Here's to a sale and players this month. Fingers crossed for both, says Paul Woolley. Welcome to Members Club, Pam. Hardcastle, and Happy New Year, Mark, says Christian, and the realist fans. Any good New Year's resolutions? Remember when Morata dyed his hair red before he chose Lukaku, says Christian. I don't really believe in New Year's resolutions because I have targets for the year ahead, but I don't really have New Year's resolutions. I find New Year's resolutions really, it's a bit like saying United are going to win the league. It's not realistic. So I like to have personal targets for the year. Happy New Year, Mark. Crazy to think how far this community has come in 7 to 8 years. I still remember watching you walk your dog, Robbie, while you talked via your cell phone to only 5,000 of us. So Zachary, thanks for the super chat there. Happy New Year, Mark. Do you think if we win our next 3 games, we can get top 4 easily and can become title contenders if we bought some players, says Prab? I think that just before I get into this story of options that Ten Hag's got, which is basically João Felix, Morata and Memphis, the results have gone really well for us this weekend. Spurs have basically choked already. I chuck Spurs out the top 4. We're in the top 4. So it's us, Newcastle, Man City and Arsenal. The stupid thing is, if we did spend in January, I reckon we could get in a title race. I do. But we won't spend in January. And this is why we need to throw these bloody Glazers out of this club forever. The way this season's going, Arsenal could win the league. That's ridiculous. And they deserve to. This league title and top 4 is absolutely up for grabs. And yet they're asking Ten Hag to mess around in a loan market. It's even more frustrating than last year when they should have backed Rangnick and we would have got top 4. This year, it's guaranteed if you back Ten Hag, you're going to get top 4. We could even get into a title race. It's ridiculous, but we could. I still don't think we'll get top 4, though, because although I think Spurs are out of it, and I don't think Chelsea are consistent enough to get back in it, I do think Liverpool are. And I think it's going to be, at the moment, I think it's 4 from 5. So, obviously, Arsenal, Man City will get top 4, and then it's us, Newcastle, or Liverpool for 3rd and 4th. And hopefully it would be us, and Newcastle don't have the experience to do it. But results have gone our way very much so, with Spurs losing, Chelsea drawing, and I think we're better than Spurs and Chelsea as well. So our problem's going to be, and I understand why there are fans out there saying we can get 4th easily and we could even get into a bit of a title race. I understand that because I look at United, I look at the manager, I look at Rashford, I look at Casemiro, Varane, De Gea, I look at some of the players we've got, and I think, yeah, you know what, we can mix it up. I don't think we're title contenders. I think that's ridiculous. I don't think we're anywhere near the quality of Arsenal and Man City, who, for me, are the 2 best teams we've played this season. I thought Arsenal played very well at Old Trafford, even though we beat them, and I think Man City destroyed us at the Etihad. But I think we are going to not get top 4 because of the Glazers and because of John Murta and because of Richard Arnold, because their recruitment was crap in the summer in the sense that they spent all our money and they spent too much. And it's frustrating because this is a season where we could have done really well. And the reason we won't do very well is because we've got too many games to play with not enough squad depth. And we've also just played a World Cup. I think that's the problem United have got. We all did that, Mark, in the playground back in the day. Happy New Year, says Carl. Happy New Year, pal. If Grealish was worth 100 million, what's De Jong worth? We should go all out for Frankie De Jong. He'll make a difference, says Ray. Happy New Year to the community, says EJ. We really need to strengthen. And Adiola, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining and supporting the channel with your badge next to your name now. Look at you. Okay, so look. Let me just go back to what I want to talk about. There's a few things I want to talk about. I want to talk about how good Marcus Rashford is in a bit as well. What a season he's having. I also want to talk about the goalkeeper, Dubravka, going back to Newcastle. But there is options for Ten Hag. He's got a decision to make. And I was going to talk about this anyway because there's a few players that have been mentioned. Thuram of Mönchengladbach apparently wants to come to Manchester United. That's from Bild. Moussa Dembele has been mentioned from Lyon. Both players would cost about 10 million quid. They are options if United wanted to go for that type of a player. But then there are 3 loan options, and United have been very forthright in coming forward and saying that the loan options are what they're looking for. So we all know about João Felix. Cody Gakpo's obviously gone. That was the player we thought we were going to get. Interestingly enough, he's been doing an interview with Liverpool and said he thought he was going to Man United in the summer. So that just shows how we could have got Gakpo in the summer. He thought he was going to come to us, but we didn't get him because we spent all our money on Anthony. Well done, John Murta. Well done, Richard Arnold. So that ship has sailed. So we're left with João Felix, who's available on loan, but we don't seem to have the money. Memphis, who's apparently available on loan, but his contract's up in the summer with Barcelona, so I don't know how a loan works. And Morata, who is apparently available on loan as well. So 3 options there for Ten Hag. He's going to get somebody he has to get somebody, and Manchester United will deliver somebody. I suppose the question is, what do you want? If we can't afford João Felix, what do you want? Do you want Thuram? Do you want Dembele? Do you want Morata? Or do you want Memphis? Well, you know what? We're interactive here, so we're actually going to go with a poll. Who am I? Who would you pick? Who would you pick? And I'm going to give you 4 options here, and you will choose who you would go for. Now, for me, it would be João Felix, but I don't feel he is really a genuine option at the moment because I think he's so bloody expensive. So we're going to put up the ones that would all be considered to be quite cheap. We've got Morata, Memphis, and Dembele. Now, I could have had Thuram in there, and I probably should have added Thuram in there, but let's stick to those 3 for the moment. But look, the chat's going João Felix, and I think that the reason I didn't put João Felix in there, because that's the player that Ten Hag wants. That's the player that we all want. He is the best option out of Morata, Thuram, Dembele, Memphis, and João Felix. He's the best player by a long way. If I'm Manchester United's owners and I'm looking at a sale, yes, but I'm also looking at the rest of this season, I'd be like, I'm not spending 100 million here. I'm spending 15 million on a loan deal for a player that is going to... I will say this right now. If we get João Felix, I think we'll get top 4. The way this Premier League is panning out, it's really competitive. And, you know, Forest got a draw against Chelsea. Villa have been to Spurs and won, having lost at home to Liverpool. We smashed Forest at Old Trafford. So this season, Everton get a draw at the Etihad. This season is so competitive, and points on the board matter. That's why Newcastle are in a good position. We're in a good position. And that's why I think Chelsea and Spurs can't do it, because the season is so competitive. If we add João Felix to this team, I think we'll get top 4. And if we get top 4, we get Champions League football. So why would you not? Why would no football club in our position would go, yeah, we don't want to spend 15 million on a loan deal for João Felix because it's a bit too expensive. It's just absolutely nailed on the right deal to do. And I think if you go and get Morata or Memphis, the success rate is lessened, of course. But what I will say as well is, and I don't like giving any leeway because I don't think we should. Standards should be up here, and you shouldn't just go, well, I'd like that, but I'll take that. If we do end up with Morata or Memphis, it's obviously better than nothing. And it might still work as a short-term thing, and then in the summer you go more long-term. But I just really hope that, you know, we're not talking 50, 60 million here. We're talking 5, 10 million difference. Because you're still going to have to pay wages of about 5 to 10 million for Morata or Memphis anyway. So the difference between a Morata and a Memphis and a João Felix is probably somewhere between 5 and 10 million quid. Well, if you qualify for the Champions League, it's an extra 50 million pounds. So you've just got to take that leap and get the better player for me. Mr. Darkseed says, my mother suffered a brain tumour and had to go into neurosurgery. It was successful. Thank you for the content, Mark. Helped my mind keep sane during the period. Mark, I'm very, very sad to hear that, pal. I'm glad the community has helped you. And I hope your mum and family are bearing up okay, and wish, obviously, all the best in the recovery and a big and better 2023 for you. Thank you very much for sharing that. We will sign a striker on a permanent deal, Sister Krill. I'd love to know who that's going to be. Happy New Year, everyone. Been watching this channel for 5 years and I love it. Keep up the great work, says Adiola. Thank you very much, Adiola. Welcome to Members Club, Zach, as well. So on the poll, 26% would go with Morata, 37% would go with Memphis, and 37% would go with Dembele, which shows you really that the quality of option is not that great, is it? But I do believe we'll get somebody in. If it is Morata or it is Memphis, I hope it's just short term and they go in the summer. If it's João Felix, I hope that leads to a move in the summer, because I think that that's the right option to do. But look, I'm repeating what was released from the Telegraph this afternoon by James Ducker, talking about João Felix being too expensive, but Morata and Memphis being options. The cold, harsh facts are that there are options there. And I'll keep saying this because sometimes you go into a January transfer window, you want a midfielder, and nobody's viably available. The ridiculous thing about this January transfer window is we've known for 2 months that Ronaldo needed replacing. The transfer window is now open. There are 5 or 6 options. Why are we waiting? And that's the thing that I think is unacceptable. We know United are going to do something. Why are you waiting? We need it now. Ronaldo's not here anymore. Cavani didn't get replaced. We've got games every 3 or 4 days. Why are you not getting somebody in now? And if it is a Memphis or a Morata and people don't like it, once it's done and we've got to get on with it. At least they're an option. I think we've got to get this done quickly, but my fear is quite typically United will wait all of January to do it, which is completely illogical. It's completely illogical to wait. Why wait? Sancho's not back yet. Alanga's no good. Garnacho's a kid. Martial's struggling to get match fitness. Antony's struggling to get consistency. Rashford's the only decent forward we've got at the moment. And why, amongst all these options, are we not just getting on with it? Get the player in. Of course I want it to be João Felix and I wanted it to be Gakpo, but if you're not going to go down that route, I mean, the worst thing they can do is get Morata in at the end of the month. You'd be pulling your hair out going, why did you wait till the end of the month to get Morata or Memphis or Thuram? Just if that's what you're going to do it now because we need them now. There's no point in getting new players in at the end of February when you've already played Man City and Arsenal, you've already played your Carabao Cup games, you've already played your FA Cup games. We could be out the Carabao Cup, out the FA Cup, and back out of the top 4 when we could have brought a striker in tomorrow. And that's the thing for me. I don't care about anything other than this manager being given the support he deserves, and he needs that player in now. And if we're genuinely sat there on January the 1st going, I don't know whether I want Morata, or I don't know whether I want Memphis, or I don't know whether I want Thuram, or I don't know whether I want João Felix, just make a fucking decision and go and get them. Because there is absolutely no reason not to. Most of these options have got 6 months left on their contract or are loan deals. So you're not negotiating a price. Just get on with it. And every single one, none of them is going to cost you less than 15 million altogether anyway. So just bloody get on with it. It's tiny amounts of money. Tiny amounts of money. Get on with it. Whether we will or not, I don't know. If we loan João Felix with an option to buy for 70 million, then I'd go all in. Let's see what this board does. I'm fairly optimistic that we can get top 4, says Lil. It'd be a shambles if we don't get top 4 because we snooze on this January transfer window. We are in 4th place at the moment. I believe we are the 4th best team in England at the moment, and that is something to build on. But what we cannot do, and I'm telling you now, like the Titanic not turning away from the iceberg, I'm telling you now, we might be in 4th place, but we are going to sink down the league if we don't do something about that squad. It cannot play every three days till the end of May. It can't do it. It cannot. Marcus Rashford cannot play like he's playing all the way to the end of May. Impossible. It's impossible. No matter how well he is playing, no matter how well Casemiro is playing, Rafael Varane, those players cannot stay fit and play like they're playing at the moment when they're playing every 4 days for the next 5 months. It's impossible. And that is iceberg, dead ahead. We're going down. We're going down. So we've got to get these players in. And of course, the sooner you get these players in, the sooner you can rotate. If we already had João Felix, you could rest Bruno tomorrow on Tuesday against Bournemouth and play João Felix at 10. Then in the FA Cup game against Everton on Friday, you could bring Bruno back in, play João Felix again, and rest Martial. People don't think it through enough. If we've got the attacking option in on loan now, you can rotate earlier and you can deal with fatigue earlier. If you start game managing Rashford and Bruno now, and they're managing their minutes now, they're not going to get tired as quick. In fact, they might not get tired at all if you do it well enough. I played the game, says Rob. Happy New Year to Mark and the mods. Thanks, Rob. Happy New Year to you as well. And Daniel Kirk says, I actually don't think Felix up front works with Bruno, although Bruno has been playing deeper recently, to be fair, says Daniel Kirk. I think that João Felix and Bruno do work. I think that, unfortunately, what people do is they see a certain system and a certain coach and go, that won't work. If you've spent any of your time analysing João Felix under the current Portuguese coach or Diego Simeone, you need to go back and watch him when he played for Benfica, because the current Portuguese coach is basically the Portuguese Gareth Southgate, and Atletico Madrid's coach, Diego Simeone, he treats 40% possession like some people treat logging onto Pornhub. He absolutely loves 40% possession. You know, he loves the opposition having loads of possession. So that's never going to help a creative. I have seen Bruno and João Felix play together for Portugal, and it doesn't look great. But I haven't seen João Felix and Bruno Fernandes play in a team that wants the ball and is managed by Erik ten Hag. So I am willing to put my opinion on the line and say that I think João Felix with Bruno Fernandes, Anthony Martial, Sancho, Marcus Rashford, Anthony, I think with those options it would work. It would work. And let's not forget, I mean, I can think of quite a few ways that you could play João Felix and Bruno Fernandes in a front four. You could play Bruno off the right, João Felix at 10, Rashford off the left and Martial up front. You could play Bruno at the 10. You could play João Felix off the right and then have Martial and Rashford. You could also play Bruno at 10, Rashford off the right, off the left, Anthony off the right, and then João Felix as the false 9. The way Bruno presses at the moment, him and João Felix could easily play as the 2 and just interchange. You know, you've got to get your head out your arse, really, and look at the way that Ten Hag coaches. He might not want to play an out-and-out number 9 this season. He might have a plan to do that next season when he buys an out-and-out number 9 in the summer. But, you know, Martial at the moment, he's hardly an out-and-out number 9, is he? I think Marcus Rashford, I don't like him at number 9. I think he's better off the left, but Rashford at 9 looks quite physical and quick at the moment, and he's not really an out-and-out number 9. So I think João Felix is perfect because he can play so many different positions. And I think João Felix is also perfect because he allows you to rotate a lot of different players, which is so important. If we get a number 9 in, like Moussa Dembele or Thuram, he can only really rest Martial for that. If you bring João Felix in, you can rest Rashford, Anthony, Martial, Bruno, because he can play multiple positions. I know the club needs an attacker to Stephen, but how are they going to survive without Dubravka? Thanks for the super chat, Stephen. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. It's going to be a massive start to 2023 on the United Stand, by the way. Not only is the transfer window open, and obviously we'll react to anything that happens every morning at 10 o'clock, every night at 8 o'clock. We've got our standard shows, 2 o'clock in the afternoon as well. We've also got so many watch-alongs. We've got Tuesday night against Bournemouth, Friday night against Everton, next Tuesday night against Charlton, and then the Manchester Derby on Saturday lunchtime. So in the next week and a half, you know, just over a week and a half, 4 massive games. So it's going to be a hectic start. Make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. But as Stephen said, Dubravka's gone back to Newcastle, and I will do predicted top 4 in a bit, Adil. I'd like to know what you lot think. Dubravka's gone back to Newcastle, and I can sort of understand why, because he's been shit. Can I just say he's been shit? Like, you could say he's gone back because he's not getting much game time, but he was shit in Spain, and he was shit in that game that he played the other week as well. So I actually think Heaton's a better option, and so Dubravka going back to Newcastle, it's just not worked out. I don't think he's a bad goalkeeper, but he's not that bad. Well, Marvin says, didn't Newcastle recall him? They might have recalled him because, you know, he's not getting enough game time. I heard he wanted to go back to Newcastle. I think it's probably a combination of all three. I mean, he clearly couldn't deal with playing at Old Trafford. I mean, there's nervous and there's rabbit in the headlights, and he was absolutely terrified in that game against Burnley, wasn't he? He was all over the shop. So we do need to solve this problem. We do need an understudy for David De Gea, who I think yet again yesterday showed what a top goalkeeper he is. The concentration levels. You know, he should save the Neves free kick, which was a very good free kick, and he does. And at the end, he should save it, and he does. Mr. Consistent. You know, I think we've seen with Dubravka just how hard it is to be a Man United goalkeeper and how nerves can get you. I mean, I remember Dean Henderson playing that game against Liverpool when Salah ran through and he got his angles completely wrong and basically gave him an open goal. it's playing for Man United. Obviously, I'm fortunate enough to do stuff with Ben Foster. I do quite a few shows with him, so I talked to him about it, and he's like, I've played in goal for England, I've played in goal at Watford and Birmingham, and I've played in goal at Man United, and Man United might not win titles, but they are playing in goal for Manchester United. It's just different. The aura, the noise, the atmosphere, the tension. I think we saw that with Dubravka. It's like he absolutely got swallowed up by that pressure against Burnley in a Carabao Cup game. So David De Gea is irreplaceable to me at the moment anyway, because whoever you bring in and however good they are, they're going to need time to adjust and get used to being the goalkeeper for Manchester United. But I think the right thing to do is to keep David De Gea as number one, give him the contract, but we still need an understudy. I don't think Tom Heaton really is an understudy for a top four club. So what we need to do is bring in someone like Romero. Now, we've been linked to Bono, not the one from U2. He'd be terrible. Imagine him on with his sunglasses on, in a night game. He wouldn't be able to see anything. So we're talking about the Morocco keeper, goalkeeper for Sevilla, isn't he, as well, Bono. I don't think he'd want to come in and he's 31. I don't think he'd want to come in and be the understudy. I think he'd want to be first team. So United need to find a goalkeeper that's happy to be the understudy. And there will be options out there, but we do need to sort that out. The Glazers are going to make a six-fold profit on a club their father bought, and they aren't willing to pay 15 million for Felix. They saved this on Ronaldo's wages, says Nate. Well, you sort of answered your own problems there, because they are the problem. Lafont says, Skull Crushers. Well, I've mentioned Lafont before. I did a video a few weeks ago. I think Lafont, to me, as the backup goalkeeper, would be what Gusto would be to right back. They're both young. They've both got a lot of potential. And if you bought them both, they would both be happy to be the understudy to Delo and De Gea, respectively, with a view in the next couple of years to taking that spot. And I think that's perfect for what we need anyway. So I would like that. Bono has been good for a while, but he won't come to be understudy. I agree with that, Zero Blade. And Lafont would be great, says Mum. Van der Voort says CH. And Bono was very good in the 80s, says Andy Mudder. He was, especially Fly. What are your thoughts on the new ownership? Are you still thinking it will be an American group, or do you see anything in the Qatari and Beckham ideas, says Thomas Bennett? I'm excited. I mean, it's 2023. I'm very excited about what the future could be for Manchester United. I mean, it's going to impact on us all. It'll impact on, us as fans. It'll impact on the United Stand community. I mean, look, we've only been here under the Glazers. And to be honest with you, under the Glazers, there's always been that negative cynic in all of us that we're just never going to be able to succeed. This could be the year where we get ownership that it just changes. And, there could be real positivity for once. So I'm hopeful. I just want it to happen. I want to know who it's going to be. There was a lot of excitement over what was said at the end of last week by David Ornstein that there's people out there. Look, I'll tell you, look, I do a lot of digging. I'm sure you do as well. I speak to a lot of people. There are people out there at the moment that are absolutely convinced that United have been sold, and it will be announced in the next few weeks. Because if the Glazers want the club to be sold before the end of March, then they need to have a buyer now. So it does make sense. I've always felt that it's going to be American. But they have been doing a lot out in the Middle East. So, I'm thinking it could be that as well. I don't think it's Sir Jim Radcliffe. I don't think it's that. I don't know. But it's, I won't judge anything until I know what it is. There's a lot of people I've met in these communities who message me privately and say, if we get this type of owner, I'm not interested and I'll be protesting about it. There are fans out there and fan groups that will protest if we get bought by, oil. They will. And they've said they will. There's people like, Gary Neville has said he doesn't want American ownership. So everyone's got an opinion, and you've got to respect that. But I just want it to come out, because I don't necessarily think when the next owners of United are announced, everyone's going to be, putting their arms together around the world saying, we are the people, this is it. It's not. I think there might be some backlash. So I'd rather we just get on with it and everyone can make their mind up. With the news that Ten Hag is essentially taking over the under-23s, does this signal he is expecting little transfer activity over the next few years, says Connor? I don't think so, Connor. I think that's just a manager trying to, set the standard throughout the club, so that he has a clearly defined path from the youth to the first team. I don't think he'll put players in who aren't good enough. And as we know, he's spoken about investment with the new owners. So, we're not. I don't think that Ten Hag is taking over the under-23s because he knows he's got to get players from the youth team into the first team because he's got no money. I don't think that's the vision at all. I think it's about identifying those players that he thinks are good enough and giving them a path forward. Elijah, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for joining. Any news about Sancho? Only that he's back in training in Manchester, but he's not back training with the first team. I'm hoping next week we'll start to see some pictures of Sancho in training at Carrington, because I hate to say it, but he might be like a new signing. But we're doing that. Rob says, I don't care who buys us as long as the club's best interests are put first. That's all I care about, says Rob. You know what I want, Rob? I just want a united fan base that's excited together again. I used to go to Old Trafford a lot in the early noughties, and we were very successful then. I used to come over from Ireland, used to go quite regularly. You'd be in the pubs around the ground. The atmosphere was good. It just wasn't, I used to buy the fanzines. I used to, just go in the pubs before and afterwards, and there was never any issues. And of course, social media's created that. It's a very toxic and opinionated arena. Of course it is, but also the Glazers have created it. I think a lot of the fan falling out happens because the club's not successful and it's run by the Glazers. I want to see a future where United fans are united again. We're together again, and I think that's disappeared. Certainly from when I was going to Old Trafford on the regular, it felt like it was us against the world. And I never was really aware of United fans not liking each other, whereas I think over the last 10 years it's become very clear that there are divisions in the fan base, and it's just not very healthy. I don't like this I'm better than you mentality. I don't like this you can't support this club because I've said you can't. It's bullshit. We've all got the reasons that we support Manchester United, and that should be welcomed and embraced, and I want to see that. I don't want to see this toxic division, I'm better than you mentality, because I don't think that's healthy, and I do believe that that's been bled and bred by the Glazers. So I want to see that again. I want to see the fan base, excited and united again. But we might not get that. We might not get that because not everybody might not be happy on the where the path goes next. Do you think Vlahovic could come to United as Alvi? I think Vlahovic would cost money, and we haven't got money, and I can't see Juventus loaning, so he'd have to be one for the summer. What if the new owners are worse than the Glazers, says Joshua? Well, I've always said this, and you can take it or leave it, but my theory is that it is actually impossible that we get worse owners than the Glazers, because the Glazers bought United when we were the best team in the world. We were winning titles. We had the best manager in the world. We had sponsors queuing up for us. It was the mid-noughties when they bought us. We were a massive, massive brand, and we were basically a big, fat cow ripe for milking, and they milked us dry. And now we're an ill, old, skinny cow, and we therefore are not ripe for milking. We need fattening up. We need putting out to pasture. We need to be nurtured and looked after. And that is the analogy of why we can't get the Glazers again, because the Glazers bought us as a strong, healthy cow and milked us. We're not. We're a weak, decrepit, old cow, and we can't be milked. So then we're not going to get the Glazers. And also, the money the Glazers are selling us for, Glazers wouldn't buy us now, because they can't buy us on debt, and they can't. There's no bar. We were a bargain as well. So whoever the next owner is, I'm 99.9% sure they can't be worse than the Glazers, because the Glazers bought us to milk us dry on debt, that can't happen now for many reasons. Also, if you want to make money out of United, you've got to spend money. So even if someone buys us with the plan to make money out of us in 10 years' time, in the interim 10 years, they've got to spend money. They've got to rebuild the stadium or build a stadium. They've got to invest in the team. So we might have bad owners for different reasons, but they won't be Glazers type owners, of course. I don't like being milked by Malcolm. And American owners are fine. They just need to understand the traditions and the cultural differences, Ryan. Well, look at Chelsea. Look at Chelsea. That's American ownership. They bought it for 2-point-something billion, and then they have to put in over $1 billion in the first few years. I think they've just bought Badashiel. They're going to get Enzo Fernandez. They're going to get Nkunku. They want Vardial. Potter might end up not being the right guy, but they're still going to spend a lot of money, and that's American ownership. So I don't think you can just dismiss it. But my genuine answer is I don't know who's buying Manchester United at the moment, and nobody really does. Mark, apparently Brentford are interested in Maguire in January. Says, did Vinny Jr. text you back on Instagram? Well, I saw a video over the weekend that Beth and the lads did on Maguire, and I wouldn't be brave enough to say it's the end of Harry Maguire, because I think so many things could change like that. If Varane gets injured, I think Maguire will play. So, you don't want to wish injury on anyone, especially not Varane, but Maguire is one injury away from being a first-team player for United. However, if Varane stays fit, I don't see Maguire playing much football between now and the summer, which means he's hardly played any football this year, which means if he's ambitious, he's got to play football, so he's got to leave. I think Maguire does need to leave. I don't think he's the right side type of player for how we want to play, and I think he will always get exposed. I mean, he came on against Forest and got sent back to Leicester, didn't he? He absolutely got skinned, but I think he's going to be important, like Lindelof, between now and the end of the season because of the volume of games. But I certainly think he should be playing first-team football somewhere, and obviously I don't think it should be Manchester United. Mark, with the previous owners before the Glazers took over, and how were they in the transfer markets as a Toure? The previous ownership from Manchester United, correct me if I'm wrong, was Edwards, the Edwards family, and I believe we had a short period of being listed as a limited company or something. I think there was a short period at the start of the noughties where we got publicly limited, but Martin Edwards was the chairman at the start of our success, and I think that was passed through that family for quite a long period of time. We spent a lot of money. We spent a lot of money in the late 80s. I mean, I remember I used to buy Shoot and Match magazine, and I remember one little cartoon in particular where it was like Sir Alex Ferguson was unwrapping this robot, and then somebody was like, "This is his new £5 million signing," because we just seemed to buy everybody. Obviously, we broke the British transfer record for Roy Keane in the early 90s. Rooney obviously came in just before the Glazers as well. Rio Ferdinand, Van Nistelrooy. We did spend money. We did spend money. I don't think we've ever been stupidly, ridiculously spending money, but we did spend money. And we were in a much better position. We were renovating the ground and everything. The Glazers, if the question is, were the previous owners worse than the Glazers? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'll tell you what I want to talk about, though. I want to talk about Marcus Rashford. This is something I wanted to keep back towards the end of the show, and so you can get your questions in as well. I just want to ask the question here. How good is Marcus Rashford? How good is Marcus Rashford? Because at the moment, I think he's playing as good as he has. I'd probably go back to, was it 3 years ago? It was just before Christmas. He was playing off the left. He was playing for Solskjaer. I came out with a tweet that I think at the moment he's as good as Neymar. People seem to think I was comparing him to Neymar. I just meant on form at that time, he was one of the best left-sided forwards in Europe. And he's back there again. At the moment, I would say the same thing again. At the moment, he's one of the best left-sided forwards in Europe. So therefore, you are comparing him to people like Neymar. On form, at the moment, he is one of the best forwards in Europe and therefore one of the best forwards in the world. How good is he? Because some United fans just don't think he's that good. And some probably think he's better than he is. I think he's back where he was 3 years ago, where he's, one of the best forwards in Europe at the moment. I don't agree with people saying, he's just doing it for a new contract. I think he's heavily motivated at the moment, but I think he's motivated for a lot of reasons. He's finally fit. He's clearly one of Ten Hag's important players, and he's obviously liberated by the fact that there's no Cavani anymore, there's no Ronaldo anymore, there's no Solskjaer anymore, and we've got a proper coach. So it's a perfect storm of reasons for Rashford to be confident and playing well. How good is he? Well, he's one of our best players at the moment. That's how good he is. How good can he be? And I say that because I think Casemiro said something interesting after the game yesterday about how good he is. It's such a difficult question. That's why I wanted to ask it. I personally have a very high benchmark on what world class is. For me, I think at any one time there's only 10, 11 world class players, and that can be because you're the best player in that position. But some people have like 100 world class players. They think that there's 15 world class forwards at any one time. I think Rashford's top class. I think that's where he is. And I think he has always had this question mark about whether he can infiltrate the world of Kylian Mbappe and Neymar. And I think to do that, it's very much like Man United. He's got to be consistent, and not just consistent for a few weeks, consistent for a full season. And we've never had that with Rashford. And this could be the first season where he does it, because he has been very good pretty much from August. So I think the next 5 months for Marcus Rashford's are key. I don't see him getting injured again. I think he's over his injury problems. He's in his mid-20s. I think he's got the right manager. I think he's got the right attitude. And I think he's got the right platform around him. I can't see him dropping off. So I think that this could be Marcus Rashford's best ever season in a Manchester United shirt, which is a big statement. And then, he's 25 still? He's got 5 years in front of him to go and chase that target of, can I get myself into that equation of Neymar and Mbappe? And that's all about consistency. But I bring it into the show because I know Ricky doesn't rate Rashford. I know a lot of you don't rate Rashford. But I genuinely do think that it's going to be a very, very interesting 5 months for Marcus Rashford. And what he does in these next 5 months, I think, will set up the next 5 years as well. No other footballer has frustrated me more than Maguire, says Nishank. I want him to leave ASAP. He's not worth 30 million. Keep up the good work, Mark. Thank you, Nishank. And Mark, if United and Liverpool win their next game and Newcastle lose against Arsenal, you lads would be on third place on the table. Best of luck to you lads and us Gunners, says Rajaf. Yeah, it's a massive game on Tuesday night because United are playing Bournemouth. It's not even on the fucking telly. But what is on the telly is Arsenal-Newcastle. So if we beat Bournemouth, which I think we will, we'll be doing a watch-along on the United stand anyway, but we'll have Newcastle against Arsenal on. We've got a really good chance of getting into that top three. No one is breaking the Rooney record, says NS. And Rashford is United DNA. He's a quality youth player, says Ken Shambles. Rashford will break Shearer's record. I can wait till the Geordies get his record broken, says Matt G. And good question here from Drew. He says, I remember we were asking the question what Rashford could do under a good coach. We are finding that out now. Also, he showed great attitude yesterday by acknowledging his error and played for us. Yeah, look, we were talking about that yesterday, weren't we? Rashford gets dropped for an internal disciplinary matter, and then we find out he got dropped because he slept in because of a team meeting. I think it's brilliant all round. I think it's... I like the way Rashford smiled at it at the end and said, look, I've got to acknowledge it. I was out of order. And I like the way that Ten Hag just didn't let it go and was like, no, you're out of the team for that. It benefits everybody. Their relationship will be stronger for that. The dressing room will be stronger for that. Ten Hag's managerial status within that dressing room will be stronger because of that. So it was a tick. It worked really well for everybody yesterday. It really did. Rashford is world class, and Ollie almost killed him, says Joe Tommy. And Casemiro said he's easily top 5 in the world. That's a big shout, says Joshua. I liked that from Casemiro because Casemiro I heard Paul Scholes yesterday, sort of almost indicating that Carrick's better than Casemiro. I love Michael Carrick, massively underrated player, one of my favourite players United have ever had. Ain't fit to lace Casemiro's boots. Casemiro is the definitive best CDM in the last 10 years in the world. So when someone like that is saying that Rashford's one of the top players in the world, whether it's true or not, and Casemiro will think it's true because he's playing with him and he'll be biased, of course, but when he says that, it's a huge tick in the box for Marcus Rashford and Manchester United. So he's doing very, very well at the moment, and I really want to see Martial and Anthony stepping up to the plate as well. I was watching the video this morning about Anthony, and I'm a big fan of Anthony. I've always been a big fan of Rashford and Martial. In fact, if you've been watching the channel long enough, you'd know that there was a time where Rashford and Martial were my two favourite players. And then people like Bruno came in, and I still really like them, but they went through difficult times. I really want to see Martial and Anthony step up. I do think that I look at Rashford and I think, Anthony could be doing that from the other side. And people will laugh, but Anthony can do what Rashford does. In a different way, he can have a very big impact. I mean, he had chances yesterday. He could have scored 2 yesterday. Martial the same. They need to look at Rashford and get to that level. Sancho as well. Like there are so many opportunities in that United front three. Because of what goes on behind them, because of how good the defence is, because of how good Casemiro is, Eriksen, Bruno, there are opportunities in that team, and I really want to see Martial and Anthony step up, because we're a bit reliant on Rashford at the moment, and we don't need to be. I think there are other goals in that team, there are other performers in that team, and they just need to step up a little bit, really. Showcat says every player regressed under Solskjaer and Mourinho. It's a different world now with a coach that develops players. Mark, watch how Anthony will improve when Diogo Dalot is back, says, did Vinny Jr. text you back? Well, I'm hoping that Dalot will be back very, very soon, because I know he's back in training. Martinez is back in training. So I'm hoping. I think we might see a bit of rotation, actually, on Tuesday. We'll do the preview tomorrow, and obviously we've got Ten Hag's press conference tomorrow lunchtime, but Man United are playing on Tuesday night, and then we're playing on Friday night in the Cup, so it's a very quick turnaround to play what was effectively Saturday lunchtime, Tuesday night, Friday night. That's 3 games in 6 days. I'll guarantee he's going to make some rotation. There ain't no way Varane's playing all 3. I don't think Casemiro will play all 3. Maybe Casemiro will. I can't see. Well, Rashford's already had a break, hasn't he, from the first half? I can't see Martial playing all 3. So I can see some rotation, and maybe Bournemouth he plays Maguire and Lindelof, or maybe does it in the Cup against Everton. But we will see some rotation, because you just can't play 3 games in 6 days at this point of the season. Martial is for me, and always has been, slow and spends a lot of time with his head down, sulking. Would love to see him make it work, but we need a centre forward, says Luke. I think yesterday he looked like he had concrete in his feet. He just didn't look sharp at all. Joe says, do you think we could see more of Sancho on the right? Dalot could play a similar role to Hakimi at Dortmund, says Joe. I thought, the funny thing about Jadon Sancho is we thought we were buying him to play off the right, and then suddenly he became a left player again. And I know he played on the left a lot at Dortmund, but he can play on the right, and I think that's where we thought he was going to play. Rashford is carrying Ten Hag's job, says Joe. That's a bollocks, Joe. I think if you actually watch Manchester United, as much as Rashford is scoring the goals, I think the clean sheets and the defence have done a lot. If you go back to those 2 losses at the start of the season against Brentford and Brighton, the 2 predominant things that have allowed us to win games has actually been the midfield and the defence. I think that we can always score a goal or 2, and the key has been to make sure we don't concede a goal or 2. And we've had 2 clean sheets in our last 2 games, but it's not only the last 2 games; it's the last 4 months really. We've built most performances on a very strong defence, and so Rashford might be scoring the goals, but I think if we'd been playing Maguire and Lindelof and McTominay and Fred, we wouldn't be winning games. Match winners always get the headlines, that's fine, but I think so much of what we've achieved this season under Ten Hag is because of Casemiro and And the back four, I think they've been brilliant. I really do. The fantasy is very sad when you look at United. One forward, says Rory C. And Nate says, do you still think the Glazers know who is buying the club, or are they just as clueless as we are, says Nate? No, I think the sale of Manchester United is very advanced at this point. Yeah, it has to be. Like, the club was basically put up for sale 6 weeks ago. Offers will have gone in. Whether they're the offers that the Glazers want to accept or not, I don't know, but I think we're getting very close. Top four predictions, Mark, says Rishi. Well, look, let's do this. I know what's going to happen here. Will United get top four? So get your answer in the poll in, and I'm going to tell you the situation with the Premier League right now. Man United are in 4th place with 32 points. Spurs are in 5th with 30, but played a game more than us. Liverpool are 4 points behind us, and they've played the same amount of games. So Chelsea are 7 points behind us. For me, we're in a very strong position. I'm absolutely convinced that Liverpool will get into the top four. So you've got to factor that in and hope that Newcastle drop out and not us. I think the vast majority of you are going to say United will get top four. I said at the start of the season, I don't think we'll get top four because I think it's a huge ask for Erik ten Hag to take the worst Premier League Man United side and take it into the top four. I thought it would be too much to do in one season. Even now, in January, with us in 4th, I still don't think we'll get top four. I'm more confident than I was at the start of the season, but the reason I don't think we'll get top four is because I still think it's a big ask for Erik ten Hag to get top four with that squad, knowing the amount of games we've got to play. And I think the evidence is there. And people will say, well, we're top four at the moment. Well, we are top four at the moment. Of course we're top four at the moment. We all know that. But we've also already seen what we can be like when we play on a Thursday night in a big game and then we have to go away to Aston Villa. And that's 3 points gone. And I think that will happen quite a lot. In fact, I was looking at Man United's fixtures, and case in point would be when you look at our fixtures, we've got... So I think we're all right in January. I mean, obviously Man City at home and Arsenal away on the 14th and the 22nd. That could be 6 points. It could be 0 points. That could have a big part to play. Then in February, we've got Leeds away, and then we play Barcelona on the Thursday, and then we've got Leicester at home on the Sunday, and we play Barcelona again. So this is where I think top four is going to be difficult, because we've got so many games to play, and I think we've got a good first 11, but I don't think we've got a good backup. You know, as I say, if Varane gets injured, Maguire plays. If Casemiro gets injured, McTominay plays. If Rashford gets injured, Alanga plays. So I just think that, you know, if Bruno gets injured, Donny plays. I think it's the depth of the squad that makes me think we won't get top four. On pure ability, I think we're a top four team, but I think we're going to come undone on squad, which is why this January transfer window is so important. But I understand why 72% of you think we will get top four, because there's a lot to be positive about. But I can't go against what I predicted at the start of the season, that this season will fall away because of fatigue. Judging your current form, what do you reckon your games against us in the Europa playoff will be like, says Aku. I presume you're a Barcelona fan. I think we're capable of beating Barcelona, Manchester United, but it depends what position we're in February. We'll be very tired by then. We might have a couple of injuries by then. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's completely illogical to think we're not going to have any injuries between now and the end of May. And if I said to you, what injuries can we carry then? And you can't say, well, Alanga or Donny, because they're not, you know, we're going to get injuries to first team players. Hopefully we'll only get 1 or 2, but we could have 4 or 5, 6 or 7. And, you know, imagine if you lose Luke Shaw or Martinez or Eriksen or Bruno or Rashford. Well, why wouldn't you lose those? Because if it's not those, it's Casemiro, it's Varane, it's Dalot, it's Anthony, it's Martial. So we will pick up injuries, and when we do pick up injuries, we're going to lose key players because we haven't got the depth. And that's why I think this season's really difficult to predict. I hope we're going to get top four because I think Champions League is so important. Seen a lot of criticism on Martial. He's had a bad game, but besides Rashford, he's been our best forward this season, even with the injuries. United fans are reactionary, says HK in Music. And Andy Cheetham says, Mark, we have so many positives. We are on a journey back to where we should be. Eric Ten Hag still needs to clear some deadwood, but we are on track, says Andy. You know what, Andy, as well, in a reflective 2023 way, just to give you my hopes for Manchester United, I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to win the league in 2023 because we're not. And I'm not going to sit here and say I think next Christmas, halfway through next season, we should be top of the league because I still think that's hard. But what I will say is this. I agree with Andy. What I would like to see, new owners come in who invest in the summer under Ten Hag to the tune of about 200 million again. But on top of that, with a year of being at the club, we clear some of the deadwood out. And if that deadwood, I mean, look, Ronaldo's gone. So, you know, if Ronaldo's gone, it's not wrong to say that, you know, some people might want De Gea to go. I don't, but, you know, some people might want that. Maguire, Lindelof, you know, McTominay, Fred. Some people might want Rashford to go. You know, what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter who you want to go and who to stay because you're not the manager. What matters is, if you were the manager, would the club allow you to do it? And over the last 10 years, they wouldn't. Well, let's see what happens this summer because I want to see a manager be able to say, I want him to go. And the club not say, yeah, but we spent a lot of money on him and he's on big wages. Well, that's not a reason to keep a player. And that's what I want to see in the summer. I think it's so important that this summer we do see players moved on that clearly aren't part of the plans. And that'll be very interesting. Sean, I'm really looking forward to playing Arsenal in a couple of weeks at the Emirates. We did beat them, but I think they're the best team we've played at Old Trafford this season. I thought we were 1-0 up at half-time. They equalised. I think Arteta smelt blood and he went for it, and then we caught them on the break twice. And, you know, he was a bit naive, but they were better than us, I thought, in that they were for a large period of time. So I think it's going to be very interesting to go to their place. And look, never write United off. People will think that Man City are going to beat us at Old Trafford and Arsenal are going to beat us. I mean, it's a great double header. Is it the 14th of January and then the following Saturday, and then the following Sunday? Those two games I can't wait for because we've had a really good run of fixtures, and I think we will beat Bournemouth, and I think we will beat Everton, and I think we will beat Charlton. So we'll have another 3 wins under our belt, and then we're going to play Man City and Arsenal, and I think they're perfect. They're perfect time because it's like we'll be very confident, and it's another test of where we are. If they both beat us, then they're the 2 best teams in the league, and we're nowhere near them. But if we can, you know, if we could beat them both, we might be able to get into something ourselves. But I think it's a good test of where we are, and I agree with G-Man. I think our attack can cause anyone any problems, so I'm looking forward to it. I am. Anyway, look, thanks everybody for watching. A bit of an earlier show tonight. We're normally live at 8 o'clock, but it's New Year's Day. I don't normally do a New Year's Day show, so I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. And whatever you're doing, I'm going to go and watch a film, I think, now. But we're back tomorrow. It's a bank holiday in the UK tomorrow as well. I'm completely lost as to how it can be a bank holiday, but it is a bank holiday tomorrow. I think it's because today's a Sunday and it's New Year's Day, and that's a bank holiday, so you get tomorrow off as well. But we will be back at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning is what I'm trying to say. We'll have our normal shows for you tomorrow. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and we've got the press conference reaction at about 1:30 tomorrow as well for you. So, and obviously if anything happens, we'll go live. And then Tuesday night, it's United against Bournemouth. It's called Coming Thick and Fast, so make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. Sean says the one thing in comparison to last season to this season is that the biggest deadwoods are gone. Ten Hag did one thing. We have a team and a gelled one as well. There you go, Sean. Thanks, everyone. Well, take care. As I say, Happy New Year to you all. Let's hope it's going to be a big year for Manchester United. I think it's interesting on the first day of the year to think, where will we be with United at the end of the year? And there's so much. There's a January transfer window. There's a top 4 race, there's trophies, then it's the summer transfer window, then it's a new season. So, and we could have new owners as well. We should have new owners. So there's a lot to sit back and enjoy. And obviously you can be part of that journey on the United Stand. So thanks everyone. Take care. Really enjoyed the show. Thanks to Kevin. He says great show. And I'll speak to you in the morning on the 10 o'clock show. Take care.